Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, this is now clearly one of the biggest stories in the country, and it is now an important story heading into the all-important midterm elections. An Obama-appointed judge, and I can't say I'm surprised, because obviously now, as we talked about yesterday, you have the rise of these democratic socialists, as they call themselves, really communists, as Trump said yesterday. These are open, naked communists, Jew haters, anti-Semites. And the problem now is they're not popular. I mean, they may be popular in blue districts like in New York City, but in terms of the mainstream of the country, they are going to drag the Democrats down to defeat. And the more people find out how outlandish, how insane, how extreme, how radical their policies and platforms are, the less likely they are to even come near them, never mind vote for them. So the steel is on. They've got no choice now but to try to steal the election in the midterms, because you can't win on abolishing prisons, abolishing the police, and abolishing borders. I'm sorry. Most Americans are not suicidal. So, an Obama-appointed judge, okay, this is a rogue judge. She is, by the way, based in Boston. So, U.S. District Judge for the District of Massachusetts, Denise Casper, appointed by Barack Hussein Obama, yesterday ruled in a stunning decision that to permanently ban President Trump from implementing his executive order that requires showing proof of citizenship, in particular, documentary proof of citizenship, in order to register to vote. I mean, it seems, what is there to block? What is there to ban? To me, it just seems common sense. If you're going to vote in our elections and you're registering to vote, you want only American citizens to vote. It's the law. It's federal law. So what President Trump did, just to remind people, was in March 2025, he signed an executive order. I'm going to give the actual the number of the order so you can look it up for yourself. I don't want you to take my word for it. Signed Executive Order 14248. So 14248. 14248. And it's called Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections. And in that executive order, Trump clearly stipulates that the key underpinning to a constitutional republic, a democratic republic like ours, is to have free, fair, and honest elections. And in particular, as the executive order says, and I want to read directly from it because it's so important, the right of American citizens to have their votes properly counted and tabulated without illegal dilution is vital to determining the rightful winner of an election. And it goes on to say, it's a long executive order, so I'll just summarize it for you, is basically what it says is you don't have representative government if you have voter fraud, if you have non-citizens voting, if you have people counting ballots that have come in after Election Day, if you have people illegally registering to vote or illegally voting, what you're then doing is you're allowing non-citizens, illegals, to vote, and this dilutes, it replaces a vote by a legitimate American citizen. And so in the end, you are destroying our constitutional republic. You're subverting it by allowing for voter fraud to take place and for illegal aliens or non-citizens to be on the voting rolls and allowed to vote in federal elections. That sounds common sense to me. I think it sounds common sense to most Americans. Not to this Obama hack. Denise Casper ruled, listen to this, that Trump's executive order now will be permanently barred, permanently blocked, because according to her, it violates the separation of powers. She says, well, only Congress, only the states can oversee and regulate elections. So if that's the case, well, this executive order, as she put it, is illegal, unconstitutional, and null and void. There's only one problem. Her ruling is constitutional garbage. She's making it up as she goes along, because this is not a judge who's there to simply interpret the Constitution or apply the law to make sure it abides or adheres to the Constitution. No, 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 no. Her job is to make policy. Her job is to obstruct President Trump. Her job is to be a left-wing Democrat activist, a Democrat hack masquerading as a judge. Because as everyone's been pointing out in response to this huge ruling yesterday, we already have federal election laws, integrity laws on the books. All Trump's executive order is doing is enforcing federal law. That's it. It's illegal for non-citizens to vote. It's illegal for non-citizens to register to vote. It's illegal for non-citizens to cast a ballot. And so Trump just wants the law to be upheld and to be enforced. That's it. And so this begs the question, what are the Democrats afraid of? What are you afraid of? What is Denise Casper afraid of? What are the Dems? Why are you so afraid to have a voting system in which people have to show documentary proof that they are American citizens so they can be properly registered to vote, that only American citizens should vote in American elections, that you should show a valid ID when you show up at a polling place, or if you want a mail-in ballot, as the executive order states, you have to first show valid ID and proof of citizenship. No proof of citizenship, no mail-in balloting for you. Now, she further argues, which is to me a stunning argument. She literally claims in her decision that there is no, her words, widespread or illegal voting fraud. That's literally what she says. There's no widespread voting fraud? Are you kidding me? That's like saying the sky is purple. All there is evidence of widespread, rampant voter fraud. But furthermore, again, as many legal constitutional analysts pointed out, whether there is or there isn't, because her argument is, if there isn't widespread voter fraud, well, what do you need the executive order for? So again, ipso facto, the executive order is null and void. Well, A, there is widespread voter fraud, but as I like to say, let that go. Whether there is widespread fraud or there isn't widespread fraud, it's none of her business. The law says you cannot have non-citizens voting, registering to vote, casting a ballot. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 5,000,000. The law is the law, and the executive order says enforce the law. It's not up there. She's basically making herself president of the United States. She's usurping the role of both Congress and the executive branch. Well, I don't like the laws. Well, that's not too bad. Congress passed the laws. Well, I don't like the fact that the president wants to enforce the laws. Well, too bad. He won. He's the president. He has the right to issue the executive order. You're just a judge. That's all you are. Let me say this. Denise Casper is another DEI hire. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Huge decision by a U.S. district judge, actually based here in Boston. Her name is Casper. Hold on. Let me just, Mike, I'm hearing something in my ear. Okay. Did we get that resolved? Okay. We got it resolved. Thank you, Mike. Okay. Judge Denise Casper, appointed by Barack Hussein Obama. She was put on the bench in 2010. Came down with a ruling yesterday. It's a sweeping ruling, an order that bans the Trump administration, President Trump, from implementing his famous March 2025 executive order regarding federal voter ID. And in particular, the demand that if you want to register to vote for an election, you have to show proof of citizenship, documentary proof of citizenship. She now says that will now be permanently blocked, and that you do not have to show any proof of citizenship, nor any ID whatsoever, that there is no problem with illegal voting or voter fraud. And so hence you cannot require them to be able to show proof of citizenship or to even show a valid ID. Now, what is obvious in this ruling, as I said on X last night, and I want to repeat it because it's true, what this ruling attempts to do, it's an attempt. It's to protect voter fraud. There's no question. They're trying to enable and protect voter fraud. And the reason why they want to protect and enable voter fraud is because the Democrats now have to steal the midterm elections in order to win. They cannot win now that they have become, in essence, as Trump said yesterday, a communist party. When you start electing anti-Semitic Marxist communists, and that's what they've now done, and you're running on the most extreme destructive platform, which essentially, to sum it up in one line, we hate America. That's their platform. You start talking about abolishing police and abolishing prisons and seizing private property and literally abolishing the border and allowing billions, not millions, billions to just pour in. Yeah, and you're talking now, and basically the nationalization of most industry in the United States. This is what they campaigned on. This is what they vowed to do should they win in November. They're not going to win. There's no way they can win. Nobody is going to vote to have them come and take your home or take your retirement account or reopen the border to tens and tens of millions of third world refugees and migrants pouring in, and having convicted murderers and rapists just roam the streets because you're not supposed to arrest them, and you're not supposed to incarcerate them, and you're not supposed to put them behind bars. So no one is going to vote for that. That's insanity. So they're going to have to steal. They're clearly now trying to make it as easy as possible to steal. Now, that's number one. Number two, to me, it shows the imperative of passing the Save America Act. The Save America Act. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's a silver bullet, but the key provisions in the Save America Act, which would require that every voter show a valid ID before they can either cast a ballot or get a mail-in ballot sent to their home. You have to show proof of citizenship in order to register to even vote. And it also curbs the use of mail-in ballots significantly. Now, you have the Save America Act, and it makes it very difficult for Democrats to cheat. I'm not saying impossible, but boy, it makes it difficult, and they know it. And that's why they have waged an all-out war to destroy the Save America Act. President Trump yesterday went up to Capitol Hill for a Senate luncheon. It lasted 2 hours. It was behind closed doors. According to Trump himself and according to a Rhino Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. If you remember, Trump called for a primary challenge to Cassidy because he is a Rhino, and Cassidy lost his primary. So Cassidy now is a bitter, angry, frustrated man. He's going to go out. He can just serve out the rest of his term, which is this year, and after that, he's done. He's been booted by his own voters. Well, Cassidy and Trump had a huge shouting match yesterday behind closed doors. And they were arguing in part about the Iran war, but the other thing that Trump insisted and angered many of the Republican senators is that he refuses to sign or go to a signing ceremony for a bipartisan housing bill. He says, I'm not going to go there and sign anything. We're not going to sign anything until all of you end the filibuster and pass the Save America Act. As Trump said, look what they did in California to Spencer Pratt. What do you think they're going to do in the midterms, especially after last night's primaries? Trump came out and said all they've done now is elected a slate of communists. They can't win on a communist ticket and on a communist message. So the only way now they can seize power, whether in the House or the Senate or both, is through massive, rampant voter fraud and illegal voting. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Let me ask you this. To me, just as a matter of principle, how does a DEI hire, and that's what Judge Denise Casper is. She's a DEI hire. How does a left-wing activist judge, rogue, just on her own because she feels like blocking the president of the United States, how does she get to subvert our democracy by enabling voter fraud? I mean, how is this even allowed in a constitutional republic? And that's why yesterday I said it's time to impeach. These rogue judges need to be impeached. She needs to be impeached and to be removed from the bench because they're out of control, they're drunk with power, and they think they can get away with anything. That to me is number one. Number two, for the life of me, this is such a winning issue for Republicans. We're looking at 85% support in the country for the Save America Act, and in particular, voter ID when you vote, to show proof of citizenship in order to register to vote, and to limit, if not completely eliminate, mail-in balloting because it leads to so much cheating. But if you're going to get a mail-in ballot, this is what the executive order that Trump passed in March of 2025, and this is also in the SAVE Act, says, well, you got to show proof of citizenship. Go, show proof of citizenship. Yes, you are a U.S. citizen. Okay. Now, give me a valid ID. That's your name, Jeff Kuhner. Got you. Okay, face matches the picture, matches everything. Okay, we'll send you a ballot and you can vote from home. At least there are some checks and safeguards, some guardrails. But this, anybody who's on the voter rolls, no matter how they get on, they get a mail-in ballot. And they automatically then get to vote, and the vote has to be counted. Well, I can tell you right now, you get a driver's license in Massachusetts, and by the way, in most states, motor voter rolls, and they, boom, you're automatically registered to vote. And most states now give driver's licenses to illegal aliens. That's why the Democrat states, blue states, never want to hand over. Trump's been asking, his DOJ's been asking, hand over the voting rolls, your state voting rolls. We want to see, do they correlate with a federal database that we have about who's a citizen and who's not a citizen? They refuse to hand over the voting rolls. That tells you everything you need to know. And so my question now to you, really, what do we do, A, about these rogue judges that are clearly now enabling and protecting voter fraud and subverting our democracy? And B, the fact that Trump yesterday was livid, I don't blame him. He's basically now threatening a potential government shutdown. He said there will be no signing of this ceremonial signing, no signing for this, major bipartisan housing bill until the Republicans blow up the filibuster and get a vote on the Save America Act and get 50+1 votes and get it passed. And he's really twisting Thune's arm, who doesn't want to do it. He's twisting the arms of all of the Republican leadership. Some of them are angry. There was a shouting match with Bill Cassidy, that rhino loser, behind closed doors yesterday. But Trump is saying, look, you don't understand. They're going to cheat because they have to cheat. Especially after Tuesday night, especially what we talked about yesterday. Communism does not sell in America. Yes, to crazy Democrats like Bill in Sudbury and Chris in Gloucester. Yes. But to most normal, ordinary Americans, it no work. So for them to win, they need to steal. And he says the way they're going to steal it is they're going to mobilize illegals and non-citizens and dead people to vote. And so, as he put it, this is the most important measure in Congress right now. There is nothing more important than the Save America Act. So my question to you, how far should Trump go? Should he even say, I'm not signing anything? If that means shutting the government down, we shut the government down. Nothing moves, nothing gets passed until we get a vote and they pass the Save America Act in the Senate. It passed the House. All it now needs is passage in the Senate. All they need is 50 votes. JD will be the tiebreaker. And boom, the Democrats have been checkmated. But to do that, the Republicans have to be willing to break the filibuster. And that's something John Thune, that rhino Judas, and other rhinos do not want to do. Even though the Democrats say, should they come back to power in November, they will blow up the filibuster. So the filibuster is dead. The only question is, will we break it to save our republic, or will we wait for the Democrats and then they'll use it to try to implement their socialist communist revolution? I'm with Trump all the way. All the way. 617-266-6868. Susie in Georgia. Thanks for holding, Susie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Susie.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, which court does this rogue judge, Denise Casper, preside over?
Well, she's the U.S. District Judge for the District of Massachusetts. And, it's an influential position, but she doesn't override the president. She doesn't override Congress. And my advice, by the way, but they're appealing immediately. Trump's Department of Justice is appealing the moment the ruling came down. Take it to the Supreme Court. They're going to deliver her head on a platter. There's no way her ruling is going to be upheld by the Supreme Court. No way. But you see, she knows that. They're making these rulings, these left-wing Democrat activist judges, knowing it's going to get shot down, but it's a delaying tactic. Because they know the Supreme Court probably won't get to it until after the election. See, that's the game. Yeah. Susie, can you hang on? Because I don't want to rush this. Hang on. I want to come back to you, okay? I promise. I remember there was a time in this country where if you were a federal judge, a lower level judge, a district judge, whatever, if you got overruled by the Supreme Court, it was like a real professional slap in the face. Like your pride was wounded. You were embarrassed. It used to matter. Like, ooh, geez, I was that bad. I was I was that off in my ruling. Now they don't care. She's patting herself on the back. She's part of the resistance, the resistance. Okay, let's go right back to Susie in Georgia, the Peach State. Susie, so to answer your question, long story short, she is a U.S. district judge in the District of Massachusetts. She's based here in Boston, and she thinks that she is more powerful than the president, than Congress, and that basically she can make up any decision that she wants, and the whole country is supposed to abide by it. To me, it's clear judicial tyranny, but that's me. What say you?
First of all, she needs to publicly be disrobed, removed. She needs to be charged with refusing to protect and uphold our Constitution. Now, another point I'd like to make. 85% of we the people demand citizen verification for voting. 85% of we the people are entitled to citizen verification for every election, not just the big ones. All right. They're all big. All of them matter. Look at Tuesday night in New York. That was a disgrace. That is a disgrace. And you know what? We the people, 85% of we the people need to stand up and demand that the SAVE Act pass the Senate and be codified, ratified, whatever, into law, and have that done by our 250th Independence Day, July 4th, 2026. This is worse than a third world circus going on in this country. This is disgraceful. We are the greatest nation in the world, and we need to start representing that.
Oh, Susie, I couldn't have said it better myself. And Susie, I want to ask you this. By the way, extremely well said. Bill Cassidy, the outgoing Rhino senator from Louisiana, during his shouting match with Trump behind closed doors, told the president that he's got to get over, quote unquote, his obsession with the Save America Act. This is what he told the president to his face. In fact, I think at one point they say when he so disrespected Trump, he called him brother. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to get over it, brother. He stopped calling him Mr. President. And what he told Trump was, you don't have the votes. I'm not going to support the SAVE Act. Lisa Murkowski, the other rhino from Alaska, won't support it. Susan Collins won't support it. That you have other rhino Republicans, that you're not going to get to 50 votes, even if you break the filibuster. And so what he told Trump is, you and your voters, that's exactly what he said. I'm quoting you verbatim. You and your voters need to get over it, move on. So all the Democrats obviously are against the SAVE Act because they cheat and they don't want this to stop them from cheating. My question to you, what's in it for these rhinos? Why are they so determined to protect the Democrat cheating machine? Why do they want to protect Democrat voting fraud and electoral corruption? I understand why the Democrats want to do it, because it benefits them. Now, is it just because they're so stupid? They don't see it? Or they're willfully blind? They don't want to see it? Or are they, I don't quite understand. I mean, you claim to be a Republican. What, you want them to steal your seat eventually? So I don't understand why these rhinos are so devoted, so dead set against Trump and in trying to sabotage the Save America Act. What's your theory? I'm just curious. What's your theory, Susie?
Keep making money at any cost, any way possible. And the Cassidy that has been now primaried is the one that's calling our president brother, and he doesn't have the votes. I said 85% of we the people who voted Cassidy out, well, not most of them, voted against him and primaried him. We're the ones with the vote. And the President Trump, is trying to uphold our desire, our wishes, because guess what? They work for we the people. We will start firing them. The reason why they don't want to pass the SAVE Act is because they're making millions and millions of dollars. And it's dirty money. It's corrupt money. And they want to continue their cycle because they get to live their posh, elite lives, and they feel they're untouchable. Well, you know what? No, you're not. We, the people, elect you. We, the people, can unelect you. We, the people, can fire you.
Amen. Susie, amen. Thank you very much for that call. They're controlled opposition. I think there's no question. By the way, this Denise Casper has outed herself as a corrupt judge. I mean, that's one of the good things, the only good thing about this ruling is now you know who's corrupt and who isn't. Well, she just outed herself. And these rhinos that are doing everything they can to sabotage the Save America Act, they've all been outed now. Every single one of them. So to me, it's obvious. They're on the take. They're controlled opposition. They're in bed with the Democrats. And they're trying to enable the uniparty and the swamp. There's no, to my mind now, it's beyond, it's 100% guaranteed. It's beyond the shadow of a doubt. Now, to show you why the Democrats are willing to die on this hill, and I mean their opposition to the Save America Act is ferocious. I mean, it is everything to them. They are throwing everything but the kitchen sink to guarantee that there is no vote on the Save America Act, and that if there is, it goes down. I want you to listen to Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor. This is what Chuck Schumer now, this is him saying that no matter what, Democrats must hold the line and sink the Save America Act. And look at the language that he's using. Okay, look at the hyperbole. Look at the over-the-top hysteria, the fear-mongering to try to frighten people into opposing honest, fair, free elections. Roll cut 6, Mike.
The GOP will continue going along with Trump's all-out assault on voting rights with legislation like the SAVE Act. If my colleagues across the aisle have any sense at all, they ought to grill Trump on affordability, on his failed war with Iran, on his effort to hold American national security hostage, and all his other policies that are hurting the American people. When they emerge from their meeting, will Republicans have told Trump the truth? Will they speak truth to power? Will they do their job? Or will they just bend in obeisance to him and get more frustrated, more angry, more ineffective than they've ever been?
I mean, what a puffed up windbag. No, really. I mean, just what now? By the way, he's going down. AOC is setting her sights on him now. They're licking their chops at taking him down. These, the Democratic Socialists, the commies, they've got him 6 ways to Sunday. And, you can tell he looks almost like a defeated man reading his lines there on the Senate floor. So let me get this straight. If I want ID to vote, show proof of proof that you are who you are, that's suddenly an assault on voting rights? So I have to show ID for absolutely almost everything I do. I go to the pharmacy, I have to show ID. I open a bank account, I have to show ID. I go to the library, get a library card, I have to show ID. I mean, I could go down the whole list. I don't think there's anything you do in American life today that you don't show ID. So let me get this straight. You're telling me now that what? It's an assault on voting rights to show ID in order to vote? But you can't drive a car. You can't hold down a job. You can't have a bank account. You can't pay a bill. You can't pick up a pharmacy prescription. I mean, I could go on and on and on. All of these things, you need an ID. I mean, it shows you just how ridiculous their argument is. And then let's get to the heart of the matter. Why don't you want proof of citizenship in order to be registering someone to vote? I have no problem showing you proof of my citizenship. Don't you want Americans and only American citizens voting in elections? The fact that they're opposed to it tells you everything you need to know. They don't want only citizens to vote. They want the non-citizens to vote. They want the illegals to vote. Because otherwise they can't win. I want you to listen now to President Trump. This was him yesterday, and he was not a happy man, and I don't blame him. He's mad at the Senate Republicans because they don't have the guts to ram through the Save America Act. And he was especially mad at these Judas rhinos who are doing everything they can to sabotage him, both on the Iran war and how they voted in the Senate for the war powers resolution to undercut him, literally undercut him in the midst of negotiations with Iran, and how they're doing everything they can to prevent a vote for the Save America Act. And so he gave them a tongue lashing behind the scenes. In fact, apparently he called several of them lunatics, and they are lunatics. But listen to him. He's entering now the Republican luncheon. So he's talking to reporters just as he's about to come in. Okay, the doors are open. Senators are waiting for him. And he told them in private what he's telling everybody in public. The communists won on Tuesday night. The communists are the Democratic Party is now essentially a communist party. No one wants to vote for the communists. Wink, wink. The only way they win is if they steal. Wake up. They're going to steal. And when they steal, you're going to get communism. Like, have all of you lost your minds? That's basically what Trump is telling Republicans behind closed doors. So end this filibuster, bust it up, break it, nuke it, and give me 50 plus 1 votes, and let's pass the Save America Act. As Susie rightly said, 85% of the American public is for it. They're for showing voter ID, they're for voter ID, they're for proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. They don't like mail-in balloting. They want to really limit it substantially. And if you're going to have mail-in balloting, and this is what the judge really feared, in Trump's executive order, you have to show proof of citizenship in order to register to receive a mail-in ballot. You don't just automatically get a mail-in ballot, as the Democrats did in 2020, which is how they stole it from Trump vis-a-vis Joe Biden, or as they've done in 2022 or in 2024. You've got to, in other words, you got to show proof of citizenship to get a mail-in ballot. Most illegals then can't vote. It's very hard for them to vote. You can't get dead people voting. You can't get multiple voting. You can't get illegal voting. That's why she had to block Trump's executive order. So listen now to President Trump saying, I'm not calling them socialists. The winners, Mamdani's people, are communists. And that's what we now face. It's time to take the gloves off. Roll cut 1, Mike.
Buying a home is on the table for so many Americans. Is this election legislation more important to you than resolving housing crisis?
This is every election is important. We're doing very well. They want a lot of communists to come in. I'm saying it a little bit differently, but the people that they're pushing are communists, and this country is not going to have communists. Thank you very much.
Stand, guys, for holding.
Okay, the applause you hear at the end is Trump entering the room. But basically, the reporter asked, what do you make of the election last night? And, is this a turning point for the Democratic Party? I argued yesterday it was. Most people are saying the same thing. It's now clearly a very different, it's a radical left, anti-Semitic, communist, Marxist, socialist party. There's no question now. And he's saying, yeah, they're not socialists, they're communists. And he goes, I'm telling you, this country is not going to have communists. If it's a free and fair election, we're going to destroy them. But that's why they have to cheat. They've got no choice. With the positions that they've now embraced, you can't win. No, you can't win anywhere. Never mind the United States of America. Bruce in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Bruce, and welcome. That's Mamdani for you, Bruce. I mean, that is one huge moonbat, my friend. You want to talk about a moon howler. Bruce, what do you make of the election Tuesday night, the rise now of these anti-Semitic communists in the Democratic Party, and the rhinos just don't want to pass the Save America Act? And now you've got liberal activist judges trying to block Trump from having us have free, fair, honest elections. What's your take, Bruce?
Well, forget about blocking Trump. I love the guy, but I love this country. And these rhinos and these judges. This is, can I say asinine?
Yes.
This is totally asinine. And anybody that lets this let's just face it, Jeff. I had to go, I went to buy a pack of cigarettes. I'm an old guy. I'm 68, almost 69. And I'm not gonna stand by and say nothing. And anybody that listens to this radio station should be calling you. You can't do anything without an ID. Now, a voter ID, you gotta be a citizen. You can't just slide in and get like they're giving out tractor trailer licenses to these guys that are going out and killing people, and our roads are just everything in general. If you're not a citizen, you don't get to vote. Let's go to any country in the world, Jeff, in the entire world. If you're not a citizen, you've got no voice. These people shouldn't have a voice. Matter of fact, most of the people that are in this country shouldn't be here. They want to get rid of ICE. They want to get rid of police. They want to get rid of jails. This is insane. This is insanity, Jeff. These people, they should be locked up and put in a mental institution in a rubber room. And the people that allow it to happen, they should be locked up and put in a rubber room. This is totally crazy. My father fought in World War II. My grandfather fought in World War I. My great-grandfather was on USS Constellation. They were all Navy guys. They fought for our freedoms, not these lunatics that aren't supposed to be here, like Mandavi, whatever his name is, and all these AOC, these communist people. This is not a They accuse Trump of being a Nazi. They're the Nazis. They're the socialists. They're the communists.
No, you're dead on. Bruce, you're absolutely dead on. And, you were mentioning, what are you? You're almost 70 now. You're in your late 60s, and you buy a pack of cigarettes, you got to show ID. Grace wanted me to get a bottle of wine. I did some shopping, what was it, 2 weeks ago. And she's not a big drinker, but she'll have, she's Italian, so she'll have the occasional glass of wine with dinner, maybe once a week, twice a week. So she texted me and said, hey, could you, get me a nice, she wanted a nice bottle of red wine. So I was at our local Big Y. I got, so sure, I pick up a bottle on top of all the groceries. I mean, believe me, with my gray, I'm gray, I'm balding, I look almost 60. I look my age. Woman said ID, please. I mean, I'm just fine. No problem. Here's my ID. Who cares? 617-266-6868 is the number. I want to ask all of you, is Trump right? I think he is, but I want to get your take, obviously. 617-266-6868. When Trump says that passing the Save America Act is the most important measure, the most important mission of this Congress, that nothing else comes close. Is he right? This was the message he really hammered home yesterday in that behind closed doors luncheon with the Senate Republicans, where he basically said failure is not an option. Don't tell me you can't do it. Get it done. I don't care. Blow up the filibuster. I don't care. You got to make a deal with some of these rhinos. You want to have to, you got off from an airport or whatever, pork barrel spending or their name on a hospital, or just get it done, man. But give me 50 votes, blow up the filibuster, give me 50 votes, and then JD will deliver the 51st vote, and we're going to have honest elections in the midterms, and that's it. We're going to win. Is he right? Agree, disagree? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Mark on Messenger. And he says, Jeff, you want to know why these rhinos are dead set against voting for the Save America Act? This is what he tells me. Jeff, I'll tell you why these rhinos won't support the Save America Act. It's because they want the job for life. And they don't want to lose their power, and they'll probably lose their next election if they actually do support the Save America Act, and then they'll have to go out and get a real blanking job. Oh my God, what a travesty, Jeff. They would actually have to earn their paycheck instead of getting paid for doing absolutely nothing or getting kickbacks or bribes. This is why term limits need to be in place. Bingo, Mark, as usual. Daryl in the great state of Georgia. Thanks for holding, Daryl, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Daryl.
Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I got a complaint, and I hope you have more of your black callers call in to back me up on this. But I'm one person who's sick and tired of the Democrat Party treating us as if we're an inferior species. and we're too stupid to go get an ID in the first place. Now, when you go across, as they like to call it, the hood, what do you see? A lot of liquor stores. Now you see a lot of vape stores and cannabis stores in a lot of places. You got to have an ID to go do everything. If they can get an ID to go do this, I'm pretty sure they can use that same ID to go vote. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's the way I see it. And I'm just sick and tired of all the excuses that these people keep making, and I've come to the conclusion that this is not the same Democrat Party as JFK. When Obama, that punk, came out and said he want to fundamentally transform America, well, he transformed the Democratic Party because now they're a communist party. That's exactly what they are. And in my opinion, I'm going to use the words of the great Rush Limbaugh. Don't doubt me on this, but they're the existential threat, as they like to call it. They are the enemy of the state. That's what the Democratic Party has become, the enemy of the state. They are anti-Constitution. They want to blow up the Constitution. That's why they don't want the SAVE Act, because if they actually have the SAVE Act in place, then they're not going to win elections because people can actually see who's really voting. And all these illegals can't vote. And I was born and raised in Chicago. I remember when I was growing up, dead people voted all the time. Not only that, people's pets would vote, you know? So they can't do that. That's why they don't want it.
Oh, Daryl, you're absolutely dead on. You're dead on. Daryl, look, I got to, if you don't mind, because you've opened the door and I really want to go into it. Look, you're right. I mean, you know, you said, hey, look at the hood or whatever. There's liquor stores and vape stores. There's also ATM machines. You know, there's banks. They have to, you know, whatever. They got to cash a check. Then they got to pull the money out for whatever they want to buy. So to open a bank account, you got to have ID. I mean, I could go on. I mean, there's, you know, you have to, you know, to get a car, you need ID. To have car insurance, you need ID. To drive, you need a driver's license, ID. How are black people reacting to this racist, condescending, insulting argument that if you ask for voter ID to cast a ballot, which is one of the most important sacred things you can do in a republic, that somehow you're disenfranchising black people and minorities, as if it's impossible for them to get an ID. As you put it, that they're so stupid or so inferior or so incapable that they just can't get an ID that obviously they have and that obviously everybody's capable of getting. I mean, it's such an insulting argument. I'm just curious, how are blacks reacting to that, Daryl?
Well, you got two types. You got the black people I know, the black people get up and go to work who are productive citizens. Now, people who just hang out in the hood with their pants hanging off or behind or being a baby producers all over the place, they're actually repeating some of the same mantra. They use this terminology, they don't want us to vote. When I ask who is this infamous they can't answer it themselves. They keep repeating that same thing they've heard over and over and over because, and where do they get it from? The white liberals. These white liberals, they keep telling us that they're holding us back, they being the Republicans. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not being held back by anybody. In fact, growing up on the west side of Chicago before I moved to Georgia.
No, you're completely right. Daryl, you're not 100, you're 1,000% correct. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you want to see the enormity of the fraud? How much voter fraud the Democrats rely on and perpetuate? Okay, here it is. Schumer revealed it inadvertently. Okay, he's got a big mouth. He can't stop talking, and he let the cat out of the bag. So he was on MS Now, and he's panicking about the Save America Act because now Trump is putting a full court press. He's really twisting. He's twisting arm after arm after arm, and he's saying, "Get me to break the filibuster, get me to 50 votes, JD will come in and be 51. And baby, we have honest, free, fair elections. One of the key provisions in the Save America Act, this is very, molto importante, very important, is that it requires every state, all 50 states, to purge their voting rolls of non-citizens, illegals, and dead people. What Elon Musk's Doge task force, how they discovered, people are living 150 years old, 160, 170, 180, and they've been voting in election after election after election. By the way, many of them still collecting benefits. Social Security, Medicare, you name it, check after check. So you have to purge the voting rolls. Only citizens can vote. And that are alive, that haven't been dead for 50 or 100 years. Well, here it is. If they go through with a purge of these voting rolls, you want to know how many voters the Democrats would lose? Roll cut 17, Mike.
This is this horrible thing, the SAVE Act, one of the worst, most anti-election democracy things that's ever been proposed. They say it's all about ID, voter ID. It's not. They will remove 25 million people off the rolls. Why? Because they'll require, under this act, which is not going to pass, and we're not going to let it pass. We've defeated in court. I was a lead plaintiff in the decision to do that. We've refused to give them the votes that they would want for this. We never will. What it does is it says every state send your election rolls not to the Justice Department or the voting division, but to the Department of Homeland Security, where Musk and Doge and Vote have installed an algorithm that determines whether you're legitimately right to vote or not. The algorithm is a fix. It'll knock 20 million people, 30 million people off the rolls, and they don't tell you.
25 million. 25 million. He gave the number out, the idiot. By the way, it's not some algorithm. It's a federal database that we have, which has the names of every single U.S. citizen. All citizens are on that federal database. So that's why they want the voting rolls. Because all they got to do is compare the voting rolls, say in Massachusetts, let's just use it as an example, and then you compare it to the voting, the federal database. And they're like, well, Joe Schmo. No, Joe Schmo is not an American citizen. No. Joe Schmo is from Venezuela. Joe Schmo has been here 20 years. He's an illegal. They gave him a driver's license in Massachusetts. He's collecting welfare, and they got him voting. But he's not an American citizen. Out. Next. Whatever. Ron Mariano. Look at this. Hey, he's from Bolivia. This guy's not an American citizen. And he's been collecting welfare for 30 years. They gave him a driver's license. This guy's been voting for 30 freaking years. Out. Now, no, he even said 30 million. Okay, first he said, we're losing 25 million. He goes, but it could be 20 to 30 million. Do you know what 25, 30 million votes are? I'm putting voters in quotation marks. That's how they stole it from Trump in 2020. That's how they tried to put Kamala over the top in 2024. That's why, by the way, in Massachusetts, they announce a victor at 8:01 Tuesday night. They haven't counted a single ballot. Bang, the election's over. Governor, Republicans lost. Senator, Republicans lost. You're like, but you haven't counted yet. We don't need to count. Look how many we have on the voting rolls. We can generate millions at the snap of a finger. So you want to know what's at stake? This is what's at stake. 25 million illegal voters on the voting rolls. Whether they're dead people, whether they're non-citizens, whether they're illegals, they should not be voting. Period. Full stop. Now, I'm telling you, it is very difficult. It is almost impossible to defeat 25 million votes. That's why what Trump accomplished in 2016 and especially in 2024, it was a miracle. And they're not going to let it happen again. But I want you to see the reverse, just very quick, because the lines are jammed. You take away that 25 million. Think about the impact this has across the entire country. 25 million votes, gone. Gone. Well, let me tell you, New Hampshire is a deep red state. California now suddenly becomes a very competitive purple state. Massachusetts, very competitive purple state. New York's up for grabs. And these other states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, the kind of maybe purplish, a little bit red, whatever, that are kind of on the line. They go deep red. Deep red. The Democrats can't win a presidential election. It's going to be a sea of red all across the country. There'll be without 25 million votes, they're not competitive anywhere with the exception of the coasts. They can't win a presidential election if their life depended on it. Okay, the Electoral College is then completely tilted against them. They can't win the House. They can't win the Senate. They can't win most governors' races. They can't hold most state legislatures. They're finished. Outside of a few pockets here and there. Okay, look, Cambridge is still going to be Cambridge. Okay, you're still going to get crazies in Cambridge. And San Francisco is still going to be San Francisco. The numbers won't be as extreme. It's not going to be, 90-10. It'll be more like, 70-30 or whatever. But okay, yes, you still will have certain blue pockets. But for the most part, the Democratic Party's finished. It's not 2 million votes. 2 million is a lot. It's 25 million, maybe even as many as 30 million. Ay, ay, ay. Now you know why. It's the worst thing since Hitler. It's the greatest threat to democracy. Notice what he said? We will never allow it to pass. He's talking like a gangster. If we got to bribe them, we'll bribe them. If we got to intimidate them, we'll intimidate them. If we got to threaten them, we'll threaten them. But there's no way we're going to let this thing pass. Because if this thing passes, our grip on power is over. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Dana in Georgetown. Thanks for holding, Dana, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, good morning. Great
Hi,
to
Dan.
talk to you as usual. I just wanted to bring up a couple of quick points since we're talking about IDs and stuff. People seem to forget this new thing about Obama's library and whatnot. You can't get in there without showing a photo ID. So that's pretty hypocritical, for democratic thinking. And this past winter, when New York was snowed in, Mandami was asking the public to do some shoveling, and the city of New York would pay you. But in order to get paid, you had to show two forms of ID, one being a photo ID. So, I mean, the Democrats, it's convenient, to say, no ID when it's convenient for them. But in all these other terms, hey, you got to show a photo ID. It just shows the total hypocrisy.
Oh, you're dead on. Dead on. Dana, if you go to the Democrat National Convention, you have to show voter ID. Whatever ID, photo ID, forgive me. You have to show photo ID. I mean, I could just go on and on. I mean, it's just, I swear, if you want to visit, say, like Capitol Hill, and you want to visit one of these Democrat offices, talk to your, local congressman or whatever, you got to show ID. You don't show ID, they don't let you in. Basically, look, Dana, I don't know if you agree or disagree with me on this, but I don't think there's any part of American life that you don't have to show some form of ID. I mean, really, when I just think about, whatever, you want to get insurance, it's ID. You want to get a car or drive a car, it's ID. You want to go to the library, get a library card, it's ID. I know when I pick up my medications at CVS, I got to show ID. As I said, you want a bank account, ID. Everything is ID. You can't function without. You want to buy a bottle of wine, ID. You want to buy cigarettes, ID. You want to. There's nothing you can't get without ID. You want a discount grocery store card, ID. It's every aspect of life. You have to show ID. The only place they don't want ID is when you vote. And we all know why. It's so obvious. Schumer as I said, Schumer had said the quiet part out loud. We've got 25 million illegal voters. They're all going to get purged. You start asking them to show ID, you do a basic cross-reference, they're off the voting list. Bye-bye vote. Dana, in the end, are we going to prevail? Is the Save America Act going to pass? Or are the Democrats going to succeed again in blocking it?
I hope we do, but it bothers me that we have these rhinos, and I don't understand why they don't stand behind their party. Do they figure that they're saving their job if they kind of go with the Democrats, or why are they abstaining? There isn't a valid reason not to go with the Save with the act. There's not a valid reason anyway, except you're protecting illegals so they can vote. And so the Democrats can cheat. And we can't have that. If we lose it, we lose it. We've lost it forever.
Amen. You're dead on. You're absolutely correct. Dana, thank you so much for that call. I think they're being paid off. I think they're bought and paid for, my honest opinion. I would say on this one, follow the money. Schumer again let the cat out of the bag when he said, we're just not going to let this pass. We'll do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. So, if that means putting some money on the table, we'll put money on the table. We'll do what we have to do. And you see these rhinos, they come in, they don't have much in terms of net worth, and they walk out and they're stinking millionaires. Millionaires. And you ask yourself, how'd you make that kind of money? Well, part of it is, it's like the reason why I'm so confident in what I'm saying, because I know how many Republicans in this state act. Controlled opposition, they're paid to lose. So the Democrats make sure they get a nice little cut, but it's like a fighter in a ring. You got to take a dive. When we say you go down in round 6, you go down in round 6. Or it's like professional wrestling. We pretend to fight and hate each other, but when I tell you to lose in the ring, you lose in the ring. That's the rhino way. And that's the uniparty. And that's why for them, Trump is such an existential threat. This act alone, the fact that he's fighting so hard. Look, I've never seen a president do what he did yesterday. He had a major victory on a housing bill. Cost of housing. Everybody's complaining about it. You go to the polls, people say housing, cost of homes are too high. We got to get it down. So they get this bill. It's actually bipartisan. One of the few times both sides agree to build a lot more housing, more supply, eventually to drive down cost. Trump says, I'm not going to the signing ceremony. I'm not going to sign it for now. It's like, what? I'm not signing it until you give me the SAVE Act. And the rhinos were really livid. But basically, Trump is saying, I'm going to stop the whole government if I have to. I won't sign anything until you give me the Save America Act, period. So he's willing to go, he's going to war over this. And he's saying, I'm going to go to the mat. Democrats say this is the hill they're willing to die on. Trump's saying this is the hill I'm willing to die on. And he's right. We pass it. It's over. Game, set, match. The Democrats are finished. And they know it. Mike in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome. Mike? Is it me or does it sound like he's hammering something? Oh, it's a car blinker. That's what, to me, it sounds like he's hammering a nail, like maybe he's at work or at a construction site or whatever. All right. Let's see if we can reconnect with Mike. Mary in Peabody. Thanks for holding, Mary, and welcome. Mary? I'm hearing hammering there as well. All right. So everybody's doing construction today. This is very bizarre. Okay, who do you want me to go? Tom in Framingham. Tom, are you there or are you at a work site?
No, not working, Jeff.
What's on your mind, Tom?
Another good show. I just want to talk about the Republicans for a minute and what's going on. Republican Senate motivations. Okay, what's driving these rats to undermine Trump? Here's their open motivation. Many of them are getting their money from banks, bar associations, Chamber of Commerce. These are all open border organizations. Banks more than you think. As a matter of fact, I have an account with one big bank, and I had my I actually had someone come in and try and take over a bank account of mine in California. This was in December of last year. The bank has been supposedly investigating it. They still haven't told me what happened, and then someone tried it again a few months later. The reason I bring it up is this bank doesn't even ask for an ID when you come in. Sometimes this big bank sometimes will go, well, we'll either take an ID or a debit card. And the attempt in California, I can tell you, there was neither that was provided. So one of these things is people of America, if you want to get your identity stolen, because it's going to happen sooner or later, if you want to get your bank account stolen, keep voting for things that enable the open borders. Because the more these people come in, some of them work right in the banks. And I think they have accomplices who come in and try and do these things. They'll give them access to your accounts, especially out in California. Okay, the covert. What are the covert things? Filtered campaign contributions through fake philanthropic fund networks, such as the Arabella networks. Many of them are going to GOP people too, except you don't know about it. They're filtered. What I mean, philanthropic networks, fund networks, is supposedly you're contributing to the philanthropic benefit of society, but the money's being filtered into campaigns and for political reasons. Judges continue to interfere in the enforcement of federal law, despite the Supreme Court ruling that was supposedly forbidding lower court judges from doing this. When something happens like this one, or many of these others that halt the temporary, where Trump tries to get rid of the temporary protective status of some of these groups that snuck in over the last 4 years. These lower court judges come in and try and block Trump, or like this last one did. Why isn't the Supreme Court citing them for contempt?
I'm so with you.
Judges for contempt.
Oh, Tom, I'm so with you. People may have forgotten it was a little bit of a while ago, but the Supreme Court made a big ruling on these lower court judges and saying, look, you can't go beyond stay in your lane. You can't go beyond your jurisdiction. You don't have the right to do that. And basically slapped them down, saying, look, you can't just start, blocking the president on just because you disagree with the policy. And this is what she said. This judge that blocked Trump's executive order on requiring proof of citizenship in order to register to vote, his famous executive order of March 2025. Literally in her answer, she says, in her ruling, she says, I disagree with Trump. Oh, I disagree with the president. That's how she phrased it. I disagree with the president. Well, who cares whether you disagree with the president? That's not your job. And you don't have the right to block him just because you disagree with him. That's not your job as a judge. And to take it away from the legal, just for a second, it would be the equivalent of me, a talk show host here at iHeart, saying whatever, the CEO or the CFO of of the company. I'm like, I disagree with his decision. And I claim I'm going to block him now. People would look at me and say, Kuhner, shut up, stay in your lane, man. You got a show, do your show. You're not running the company. The board didn't elect you. The stockholders didn't elect you to be the president. You don't have the right to make policy for iHeart. Who the hell do you think you are? I'd be fired on the spot, and rightfully so. This woman is putting her will and saying it supersedes that of the president of the United States. Now, you want to make policy, run for Congress, run for president. But you're a judge. You're there to interpret the law according to the Constitution. Period. Full stop. You're not there to make policy. And they openly admitted we're there to resist Trump. We're there to obstruct and block Trump, to sabotage and undermine Trump. They're just an extension of the Democratic Party. So the legality of the issue is irrelevant to them. That's why I'm telling you, she's going to lose at the Supreme Court. She's going to get her ass handed to her at the Supreme Court. But by then, it's past November, and that's the whole game. Well, by then, we cheated. We got back power in the midterms. So you're completely right. The Supreme Court needs to fall on these people, come right down on their heads, and say, I'm sorry now. You violated our ruling. You now have, you're in violation. You have usurped authority that you don't have. You violated your oath. You're now gone. You're going to be disrobed. You're no longer a judge. Get lost. Get a real job. There has to be consequences for this. Because eventually we're not going to be able to function as a country. If one judge can keep blocking a duly elected president of the United States on what he was elected by the people to do, that's not democracy. That's not representative government. That's judicial tyranny. And that's what we're slowly starting to have. Tom, great call. 617-266-6868. Okay, do we have Mike in New Hampshire back?
Hi, Jeff.
Mike, I'm just curious, were you hammering something? It sounded like you were hammering something.
No, I was taking a turn. That was my directional.
Oh, wow, Mike, good ears. So you were using your blinkers. Okay, your turn signal. Okay. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Jeff, I looked up Democratic Socialists of America yesterday. They have offices in all 50 states.
Yes.
How come most American people aren't aware of this?
Well, Mike, I know you're a busy man, but my recommendation is their co-chair gave an interview. It's a chilling interview. And he openly says, we're Marxists. He says, no, we're communists. Because I'm telling you, we're communists. And he says, we're using the Democratic Party. This is what he says. As a ballot access vehicle. That's the term that he used. Ballot access vehicle. In other words, people normally wouldn't vote for us because we're like a fringe third party. But if we just join the Democratic Party, infiltrate them, and then just run in primaries challenging Democrats, well, then we're using the Democratic Party in order to take over the Democratic Party. And he openly says, we are going to completely infiltrate and capture, these are his words, not mine, capture the entire Democratic Party in all 50 states. And it's going to be for the House of Representatives. It's going to be for the U.S. Senate. It's going to be for state legislators, state legislatures all across the country. And of course, eventually it's going to be President of the United States. And then he's the co-chair. And the reporter says, well, what's your ultimate goal? And he said, it's a communist revolution. We believe that where every other communist society has failed, we believe we can succeed in America. It's failed. He even says it. It's failed everywhere, but we're going to make it succeed in America. So that's what Trump is telling, these idiot rhinos up on the Hill. He goes, you have to understand, the people we're up against are ruthless, they're fanatical, they're ferocious, and they will destroy America if they ever seize power. And now they've got a beach hold on a huge strategic beachhead on the Democratic Party. So, you're dead on, Mike. These guys aren't playing. And Mike, look, Stephen Miller, President Trump's top political advisor, I thought gave a fascinating interview yesterday. And he said, look, you want to be honest? He goes, I'm going to be honest with all of you. You know what's fueling the rise of these democratic socialists, as they call themselves, these anti-Semitic communists? He goes, we looked at the numbers. We crunched the numbers. We looked at the votes. The overwhelming majority of people voting for them, say in New York City yesterday, okay, in the 7th Congressional District, the 10th Congressional District, the 13th Congressional District, he goes, the overwhelming majority were quote-unquote migrants, illegal aliens that Joe Biden let in. But New York State gave them all a driver's license. All of them. And they were collecting benefits, welfare, and they got ID. And so because they got ID, they were automatically registered to vote. So these were illegals, non-citizens who voted in these Democratic Socialists of America. And he says there's millions of them in every city all over the country. And what they do is now they're going to wipe out the traditional Democrats in the primaries. And then basically it's going to be either socialism, Democratic socialism, or Trump Republican. That's it. That's going to be your pick. And they believe eventually all they got to do is win once. All they got to do is win once. And if they win once, they're going to take over the country, and that's it. It's over. Mike, final word to you.
Why can't Congress pass a law that, communists or socialists cannot be on the ballot?
Well, Mike, people don't know this. We actually do have a law. It was from, decades ago. It's called the Communist Control Act. You can look it up. So a lot of people keep saying, well, Congress should pass this law. Congress should pass that law. No, we have the laws. We're just not enforcing the law. We have laws on the border. We have laws on immigration. We have laws on deportation. We have laws against sanctuary cities. We have laws. Communists cannot hold office. It's against the law, but nobody enforces the law. So it's not like we even need a new law. We have a current law. Just enforce the current law. So, Mike, I'm with you. Look, I've been saying this now for a while. We need a new Republican Party. Trump can't be everywhere all at once. We need fighters. We don't need people like John Thune and Mike Johnson. We need people that are willing to take the gloves off and go in there and do hand-to-hand political combat. Play to win, fight to win. Because if we don't fight to win, we're going to lose our country. I mean, I hate to be depressing on a Thursday morning, but really it's our 250th anniversary in a couple days or whatever, a week. Okay, I want to go to Sid in Middlesex, but just before I do, very quick, I want to ask all of you, Kuhner Country. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. And it goes right to what I led the show with. This crazy left-wing activist judge, Denise Casper, an Obama hack. She was appointed by Obama, who blocked President Trump's executive order, which stipulates you have to show proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. An executive order that he passed in March of 2025. So the question is, did the federal court's decision by this Moonbat judge banning proof of citizenship for voters calm fears of election rigging or inflame them? Does it calm people's fear that the election is going to be rigged, say in the midterms? Or does it inflame people's fears that the election is going to be rigged in the midterms? A, calm. B, inflame. You know where I stand. I think this is going to clearly inflame. Clearly, it's so inflammatory. I mean, everybody's saying, what are you hiding? What are you so afraid of? What are you scared of? Why can't people show proof of citizenship? What? Oh, because you've got all these illegals and non-citizens voting. Oh, but anyway, that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X. And oh yeah, I was active on X last night. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhner. Sid in Middlesex. Thanks for holding, Sid, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Sid?
Working, like a lot of people don't do. Hang on one sec. Hey, what's the weight on that crate? If it's heavy, don't hesitate to ask for a hand. Jeff, remember about a year and a half ago, I think it was, we did a show on fentanyl?
Yes.
Okay, it was supposed to go one segment, and I read people from all over the country were calling you up. It wound up going the whole show. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that, Sid. Yes, I thought it was just going to be one segment, and it just exploded, and we ended up doing the whole show on fentanyl.
I guess the comment I have, forget about a whole show, a whole week, a whole month. The enemy
of me, and you mentioned other talk show hosts, and suddenly we lost you. Mike, was that us or was that Sid? Yeah, I think Sid is working at a warehouse because he was going on about be careful with the weight on this and the weight on that. You know, by the way, I really, people say, Jeff, do you mind? I'm like, no, I really don't mind, because that's, to me, the heart and soul of Kuhner country. We work. We work. We're so freaking busy working. You want to call into the show, you have to call from your job. You see, we're not on welfare, sitting around on a couch all day, collecting some government check. I used to say watching Jerry Springer and getting stoned, but Jerry Springer, according to Mike, has been off the air now for 10 years. So whatever people watch now, okay? So whatever. Mike, what do people watch now? Like, what do they watch in the middle of the day? Oprah? Is she still on or is she off, Mike? Mike. Okay, Mike, for some reason, is not answering. All right. Anyway, whatever people watch, okay, I don't know what they watch in the middle of the day, you know, but that's, you know, I don't have time. You don't have time. 617-266-6868. Okay, Mike. Mike. All right. Dixon in you. It's like Mike is annoying, is avoiding me, or, oh, you're grabbing phone calls. I'm sorry. Okay. So Mike is busy back there juggling a couple of balls, and he's taking phone calls as well. All right. Dixon because I thought you were ignoring me there, Mike. Dixon in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dixon, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, sir.
Hi.
Yeah. Dixon in New Hampshire. I'm going to pick up. I got so much to say on this, Jeff. But I'm going to pick up with what Sid was saying, I think, or suggesting when we lost him. I think you got to hammer this at least once a week or every day for the next month. I mean, I think you got to stay on this topic. I cannot believe. Listen, my fellow Americans, get off your asses and flood the phones for your congressmen and your senators and your U.S. representatives. You got to speak up on this and let them know how we feel here, man, especially Murkowski, Collins, the other Rhino congresswomen and men that we have. They need to hear from us. And I mean, they must know. I mean, but like Sid, I'm at work. I'm working. We're all working stiffs here. That's probably maybe the reason why we're not flooding the phones of these moonbat congressmen.
You nailed
it right now.
Dixon, you nailed it. Dixon, please hang on. Okay, I'm going to carry you over because you're making such an important point. We're not paid social activists. That's what the left has. They have an army, especially young people. They do nothing all day except get paid $20 an hour to go protest and make noise. And then they are in bed with the media who cover them. We're working stiffs. We're the backbone of this country. We're the working middle class. We're the peasants. We're the ones that make the whole system tick. We carry the whole load. And we're too busy working. That's the problem. Okay, we lost Dixon. Poor guy. He's so busy. Seriously, he can't even hang on for a couple minutes. I don't blame him. Okay, just very, very quickly. And I know it's a sensitive topic, but if I'm not here to speak the truth, then what's the point of me being behind this microphone? What Tuesday night's results showed, and I talked about Stephen Miller. They did a whole demographic breakdown. Many of the people who voted, in fact, the overwhelming majority of those who voted for Mamdani's Marxists or Mamdani's monsters, as they're now being called, were migrants, illegals, refugees, whatever you want to call them, that Biden allowed to pour in. Overwhelmingly from the third world. And what has shocked people, many of them Muslim. People are surprised how many Muslims Biden let in his 4 years. And New York now is really changed. It is becoming increasingly not a Jewish city, as it's been for so long, but now a Muslim city. And that's why you're seeing this explosion in support for these pro-Hamas, pro-Islam, pro-Iran candidates. These openly anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, anti-American candidates. Now, I want you to think Ilhan Omar. I want to read to you something, and I want you to think Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar came from Africa. She's a Somali, but she was a communist even when she came. Many of the people that Biden let in are from parts of the third world that are either Marxist or socialist or very much on the far left. And their attitude is just take someone's house. Like, just take it. Or give everything to everybody. Seize private property, nationalize industry, tax everybody, and then take all their tax money and give it to us. Give us freebies. Free food, free housing, free education, free healthcare, free phones, free bus fare, free subway fare, just everything free, free, free. So they come from a third world, in some ways Muslim communist or Muslim socialist culture. Now, not all of them are Muslim. One of the women that won is Chevalier. She's from Haiti. She is the one, by the way, now that came out and said we have to destroy Western civilization. Oh, we got Dixon. Okay, good. I'm going to get to Dixon very soon. She came out and said that we have to destroy Western civilization. We have to abolish all prisons and allow murderers to just roam. Just literally, just roam, like in Haiti. Let warlords roam, let rapists, let criminals, even terrorists. In fact, she's so ignorant of our system and of our society that she said we can't deport illegal aliens, even violent criminal illegals. Listen to this. Because, quote, double jeopardy. It would violate double jeopardy. She actually said this. And then the person interviewing her said, but you realize double jeopardy means you just can't try someone twice for the same crime. Do you understand? But like she doesn't even understand. She's so stupid. She doesn't even understand what double jeopardy is. Now, that's what we're not just bringing in. These are the people now that we're electing. All right. Now, this is from Sean Davis. He's a conservative writer, very good writer at the Federalist, which is also one of the websites I always read. Excellent news site, great opinion and commentary. Here is what Sean Davis wrote, and I think he's dead on. The elephant in the room. The lesson of Tuesday's New York City elections is that if you continue to allow millions of low IQ foreign communists into your country, the communists are going to take over your entire country block by block, city by city. They will seize your homes and your retirement accounts. And he's completely right. If you bring in, and that's what Biden did, millions of low IQ, all from the third world, foreign communists into your country, the communists are going to take over your entire country, block by block, city by city. And they will seize your homes, i.e. confiscate private property, that's what they're calling for, and your retirement accounts. And then give them the money. Now, no one has the guts to say it, but he's right. It's true. That's exactly what's happening. That's what's changing the Democratic Party. That's the massive base of support that's propelling now these democratic socialists of America. Okay, these hardcore anti-Semitic communists. And they come from cultures where there's rampant voter fraud. Somalia, I mean, it's a way of life. It's a way of life in Somalia. Well, yeah, of course you steal elections. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, of course you have people vote many times. Yeah. Of course you have non-citizens, illegals vote. Yeah. What do you think? It's survival of the fittest. It's dog eat dog. I want to read one more. And I think it's so dead on, because what you're seeing, and I'll give it to you exactly what's happening. You're seeing what's called the Red-Green Alliance. Red as in communist red, green as the color of Islam. So a communist Islamic Red-Green Alliance. And so this is now what's happening. And this is from, by the way, this is from 781. Jeff, Democrats think they're using Muslims to usher in socialism. The truth is, Muslims are using Democrats to usher in Islam. No truer words were spoken. Bingo. Bingo. And see, it's a red-green alliance. And these dumb Democrats said, well, all these Muslims we're bringing in, they're all hot on socialism. My God, they love, again, think Ilhan Omar. Doesn't matter. Rashida Tlaib. Just think of all of them. You're like, yeah, they're really hot for communism and socialism. Yeah. So they think we're using the Muslims in order to transform America, to bring in socialism. But what they don't see is the Muslims aren't that stupid. They're using the Democrats. If you want, they're using socialism to usher in Islam. That's what they did. That's what they did in Europe. And that's what they're doing right now. Who's rising in power? It's Mamdani. Sharia law is spreading. New York City, other cities are becoming Islamicized. Many American cities now have literally the Muslim call to prayer in the middle of the night. So, yeah, we're ushering socialism, of course. But what we're really doing is ushering in Islam. That's the real meaning of Tuesday night. And that's why, and they're cheating, and it's illegal, and it's massive voter fraud. And that's why they need to be defeated, and that's why we have to pass the SAVE Act no matter what. Trump is he's a million, forget 1,000. He's 1,000,000% correct. Okay, Dixon, we got you back. Please, my friend, pick up where you left off.
Yeah, hey Jeff, thanks again, man. This is this is the most fantastical show I think you've ever had, Jeff. You got to stay on this, man, at least a couple times a week for the next however long it takes, no matter what. This is so important, and we don't learn from the history, man. It's happened before. Remember the Trojan horses? The Trojan horse. That's what you're talking about, Jeff. Remember the term, the enemy from within. That's what we are talking about here, my fellow American citizens. And so back to the point Sid was making when we lost him, because he's a working schmuck just like I am. And then another great point, we had our caller, a sister earlier on this show, Jeff. I can't remember her name. She was from Georgia, and you and she were talking about the 85%.
Yes, Susie. Yes, Susie.
Yeah, Susie. So the 85%, where are these 85%? I'm curious where that statistic comes from, but if we got 85%, I expect a lot of you brothers and sisters of mine, American citizens, flood the friggin' phone lines of Collins and Murkowski and any other...
Oh, you're dead on. Dixon, the 85% is the percent of Americans that support the Save America Act. Pat in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Pat, and welcome.
It's so great to hear your voice and to be on the show. I called to just to say that a couple things. One was I had a music student when I lived right in Boston this was in the 80s. The mother was Muslim, and they came to our condominium, and basically she just exhibited a lot of hate. It was very uncomfortable. But the main reason that I called was what I told Mike, and that is I was the chairman of the ward committee in Brighton. And I was shocked to find out, someone called me when I was driving and said, Pat, there's a meeting, a ward committee meeting, of which I was the chairman, but I didn't hear about it. But anyway, it was a fake ward committee meeting takeover from me. And so I just drove to the location where they said whoever, I can't remember who called me. So I went in there and I said, hey, what's going on here? I never said there was a meeting. Why is there a ward committee meeting? This is not a legal ward committee meeting. And so the people left very meekly. They were like embarrassed. They seemed to be younger people. And that's all I wanted to say, that that was kind of creepy to happen. So there you go.
Well, yeah, no, look, it's happening in every state, exactly what you're talking about, where they're trying to get things done or passed under the cover of darkness. It's illegal. It's some form of fraud, political fraud, voting fraud. It's now becoming embedded slowly into our culture if we don't start rooting it out. And look, you're completely right. We have to really guard against it now. It is pervasive. It is everywhere. The Democrats rely on it. Look, take 25 million votes away from Kamala Harris. Everyone's saying, well, how did she get 75, 76 million votes? That's a lot of votes. I mean, Biden was a disaster. She was a disaster as the vice president and then the candidate. I don't think there was a worse candidate in my life than Kamala Harris. And so how does she get 75, 76 million votes? Well, now we realize she got 50 million votes. That's the difference. So that I'm just giving that as an example. So, and it's not just the 25 million that went to her, the 25 million that went to help prop up Democrat senators in all of these other states and members of Congress. So if we actually had free, fair, honest elections and you didn't have this rampant, sickening, obscene voter fraud, Republicans would have supermajorities. I mean, forget, blowing the filibuster. You could get the SAVE Act, no problem. You could get 60 easy, 67, 70. So that's what I mean when I say the Democratic Party would be finished. Now, let me tell you, Pat, very quickly what they would do if we had free, fair, honest elections. They would say, no, we're for strong borders too. No, we're for deportations too. Oh, no, we want to cut your taxes. Oh, no, we're going to clean up our cities. Oh, you better believe we're going to clean up our cities. In other words, that they have to be politically competitive and to actually win legitimate votes, they'd have to make their party sellable. They'd have to change and dramatically moderate their views. You see, when they have 25 million votes that they can count on, they can be as left-wing as they want, controlled by the globalists all they want, and now you know why they completely ignore the will of the voters. Look, the most unpopular thing Biden did, it was so obvious, was when he opened up the border. I mean, it was a disaster. From the first day, it was a disaster. And it was poll after poll after poll after poll. Now, any sane president or political party would say, hey, look, we got to close the border. I mean, this is crazy. We're going to get destroyed in the elections. The people are up in arms. They're furious. Americans are dying. Women are being raped. Children are being molested. You've got drugs pouring in. You've got child sex trafficking, for God's sake. Come on. This is an 80-20 issue against us. We're getting hammered. They didn't change. Why didn't they change? Because you got 25 million illegals that we can count on. That's the great equalizer. So what I'm saying is our whole politics would be different. Our country would be different. Our culture would be different. Everything would be different. So I don't want to say, hey, pass the Save America Act and everything is well in America. But you pass the Save America Act, and I'm telling you, you fix a lot of problems. And rampant voter fraud is one of them. Pat, thank you so much for that call. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Chris in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Chris, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Hey,
hi,
long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome, Chris.
I'm so honored to get through to your show. Main reason I'm calling, I 100% agree with you. I don't understand a common sense bill that cannot get passed, the Save America Act, the SAVE Act, why do Democrats feel like it is so illegal and racist to check people's IDs to vote? Like you said earlier, you need an ID for everything in this country except to vote. Like, what the heck is going on?
Well, Chris, they don't. You see, they're lying. Because if you go to the Democratic National Convention, you have to show photo ID. I can just go on and on. In other words, almost everything Democrats do. You go to their town halls. Democrats hold town halls. You got to show photo ID. So no, they don't believe it's racist. They're saying it to gin up their base, to frighten their voters, frankly, especially minorities, to scare them. It's disgusting, especially, poor gullible blacks, and say, oh, it's going to take us back to Jim Crow. Oh, my God, we're going to lead to segregation. So they play on the worst memories and fears of people to rile them up, to frighten them, to traumatize them. So they'll come out and protest and yell and scream and shout because it's like a mob. It's like the political mafia. They're trying to cover up their crimes. And the crime is they've been stealing elections. What I want to know is how long has this been going on? You know, Trump, to me, he's got so many virtues, but one of them is he exposed the rampant voter fraud. I'll never forget 2020 for as long as I live. And then people started questioning and saying, well, did Romney really lose in 2012? I don't know. Did McCain really lose to Obama in 2008? Like, when you start going back, you start asking yourself, how long has this voter fraud been going on? And I suspect, Chris, it's been going on for much longer, and it's been much more widespread than we ever imagined. And I can tell you here in Massachusetts, I know for a fact, they are rigging and stealing elections. And that's why they are frightened. They're petrified. The governor, Maura Healey, and the state attorney general, Andrea Campbell, will not, and the secretary of state, Bill Galvin, they will not hand over the state Massachusetts voting rolls to the Department of Justice if their lives depended on it. So what are you so afraid of? If the elections are so on the up and up, as you all say, here in Massachusetts, hand them over. They won't hand them over because that's how they keep permanent one-party rule. So, look, we're sitting on one of the biggest political scandals in the history of the United States. They brought in so many illegals that has been bankrupting and destroying our country in order to steal election after election after election. And now that this could all be potentially exposed, now it's Nazi, white supremacy, Jim Crow, racism. I could go on and on. But no, they don't believe a word that they say because you know why? Because you go to a Democratic event, you got to show ID. Mamdani, he wants people to shovel snow in the winter. You want it? You got to show 2 forms of ID. So obviously, you go to the Democratic National Convention, you got to show ID. You go to a Democrat town hall, you got to show ID. You got to go to the Obama Presidential Library. Okay, it's there. It's in Black Chicago. It's predominantly black neighborhood. People that are going in are overwhelmingly black. They want to see the presidential library. You got to show ID. So they don't even believe their own words. They just say it to frighten and to inflame. That's all. I'm telling you, the only idiots that believe it is Bill in Sudbury and Chris in Gloucester. You know, the diehards, the Hitler in the bunker types. To me, those are the scariest, the zombies. Oh, it's racist. But nobody with half a brain, you know, they don't even believe who believes their own BS? So, and even if you listen to Schumer when he delivers his lines, it's old, it's tired, it's mechanical. He's going through the motions. You can tell even he's reading it and it's like he's just like a script. Yeah, it's racist. Oh, it's the most outrageous thing. It's an assault on voting rights, blah, 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 blah. Chris, 85% of Americans support the Save America Act. 85%. I don't think 85% of Americans agree on anything. On anything. Here, let me ask you, what's your favorite fast food? Seriously, Chris, what's your favorite fast food?
So I'm trying to stay away from fast food, but if I had to pick one, it'd be
you see what I mean? Look, here. Yeah. So right away, you and I disagree. Right there. What's your favorite? I love fast food. You're like, Jeff, I'm not a big fan of fast food. So you see, there it is. Bang. We already disagree. But let that go. If you had to eat fast food, what would it be, Chris?
Dairy Queen all day.
See, I I'm McDonald's all the way, my friend. You see what I'm saying? So here, we disagree. You see what I'm saying? You can't get 85% of Americans to agree on Dairy Queen versus McDonald's. But you can get 85% of Americans to agree on the Save America Act. So it shows you how the elites are petrified of honest, free, fair elections. And the fact that they're going to do everything in their power to prevent it from happening, of course there's fraud. Of course there's rampant cheating. Their behavior proves there's rampant cheating. Chris, final word to you. Am I wrong?
You are 100% right, Jeff. I really think every single Rhino senator that is not for the SAVE Act needs to be primaried. All these Democrats need to be primaried by someone who will stand up for this country. Enough's enough. You're right. This has been going on for way too long. Way too long.
Amen, brother. Go ahead. Please finish your thought. Go ahead, Chris.
The Democrats are going to get crushed if this ever happens, and I truly believe it will happen soon. I pray that it will happen soon, but there will be no more of the Democratic Party.
From your lips to God's ears. Chris, thank you very much for that call. By the way, I don't want to be misunderstood. I love Dairy Queen, not the burgers and the fries. Peanut Buster Parfait, mwah, mwah, love it, love it, love it, love it. And their Oreo Blizzard, second to none. Second to none. So their Blizzards and their Sundays, mwah. But anyway, let that go. Linda in South Carolina. I know I'm type 2 diabetic. I shouldn't even be eating there. But, I take the kids there. The kids like Dairy Queen. And since I'm there, I'm like, what the hell? I drove them. Why should the kids have all the fun? You know what I mean? So, I do get myself. Then I just load up on the insulin at night. But anyway, too much information. Linda in South Carolina. Thanks for holding, Linda, and welcome.
Hi, I had to call this morning. I live, as you know, in South Carolina. I was walking the trail, and I couldn't have my phone on because the Democrats look at me, as they walk, and they give me this dirty look. So anyway, that's not why I called. So I didn't know if anyone. Sorry,
Lindo. I don't want to get too personal, and if I am, please tell me. I promise I won't be offended. But why do Democrats give you a dirty look if you're walking with your phone? Why would they? How do they know you're not one of them?
Well, because as I walk, I have you on.
Oh.
And that you say. And so I can't use my phone now on the trail. Can you believe that? I've had people come up to me and said, I really don't want to hear this, okay? Would you please turn off your phone? Well, that's not the reason I called, so I didn't know if anyone called about this. I've been thinking this over, and I think what Trump needs is he needs the voters. Number one, we vote, and number two, he needs our help, okay? The rhinos aren't going to help him as far as the SAVE Act. So I think what we need to do is go on the streets, and this is the time. It's the 4th of July coming up, the 250 celebration, and in a nice way, in a positive way. I don't mean cause trouble. Go in their faces. He holds signs near Thune's house, wherever. Go wherever there is to go. And I think that would help a lot. And you say 85% of the people are for the SAVE Act. Well, guess what? Even if 20-30% went out there in the country and held up signs and did what they have to do to give a message to the senators and the House representatives, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is the last chance we have. Really, Jeff, this is the last chance. We got to put forth the SAVE Act. And they give him, Trump, such a hard time. And he needs our help. Maybe he could do a fireside chat like Nancy when she called up and talk to the people and say, I need your help. Okay, there isn't anything wrong with that. That shows us that he's humble. You know what I mean? And that's all I really have to say. But
oh, Linda, look, I'm with you all the way, and I think it's a great suggestion. And if Trump's people are listening, I strongly urge them. I think she's onto something. Talk to your voters, talk to your MAGA, talk to your supporters. and say, look, I need you. Ring their phones off the hook. Maybe even protest. Go ahead. Go out and organize protests. But at a bare minimum, it's Mitch McConnell. It's Lisa Murkowski. It's Susan Collins. It's Bill Cassidy. It's those losers, those rhino losers. Ring their phones off the hook and tell them, you think you're going to get away with this. You're not. So, okay, fine. You vote for this, but I want you to know your political career is over. This is our litmus test. And let me just say this, okay? I know I'm stating the obvious, but sometimes the obvious just needs to be said. Do we live in a representative democracy? I know we're a constitutional republic, but we're also a representative democracy, right? We vote and we send our elected representatives to represent us in Congress. So do we live in a constitutional republic or do we not? Do we live in a representative democracy or do we not? Now, 85% of the American people, Republicans, it's way over 90%. Independents, it's in the high 80s. Democrats, it's in the low 80s. So the three of them together gets you 85%. So it says Republican, Independent, Democrat, young, old, black, white, gay, straight. I mean, every demographic. We want the Save America Act passed. Now, I understand why the Democrats are blocking it because they're the ones who are committing the crime. They're protecting their own fraud. Okay, that I get. It's like a mob. Well, I understand. You're trying to arrest them and they're all clamming up, of course. They don't want to see themselves go to jail. They don't want to see their power come to an end. But these rhinos, I mean, they have an R next to their name. Why would you enable your enemy? Why would you enable something that so badly undermines and corrodes our republic? Why would you so betray your own voters? They need to be exposed. They need to be shamed. And their phones light them up like a Christmas tree. Linda, you're, as I like to say, not 100, you're 1,000% correct. It's not their country. It's our country. Look, we don't work for them. They act like they're our boss. They're not our boss. They work for us. That's how it's supposed to work in a representative democracy. We elect you and you do our bidding. I mean, so, now this, and we're not talking about some marginal bill or some fringe issue or, where you say, I don't care, really, vote yes, vote no. What's more central than election integrity? What's more central than the future of our country and our republic? What's more central than the sanctity of our vote? Mike and I, it's been 6 minutes. We've been going back and forth. What's your favorite fast food? And I'm telling you, to get an answer out of Mike, it's like pulling teeth. I don't know, Jeff. I rank them by tier. There's first tier, second tier. I go, look, Mike, dude, I just want to know what's your favorite fast food. There's no right answer, wrong answer. No one's going to shoot you here, Mike. Anyway, so he gives me everything. He gives me Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, but Five Guys is his favorite. But he doesn't consider Five Guys fast food. Why is Five Guys not fast food? Because you can watch them make the burger. And then you really should eat it at the Five Guys. Because it's just not as good when you take it home. And I'm like, Mike, I've taken Five Guys home all the time. And he's going on about how good it is and the fries are amazing, which is true. The fries are amazing. And he's like, but it's just, I don't know, it's just too expensive, Jeff, to be fast food. I go, look, Mike, listen, this is not a physics exam. And, your degree is riding on the right answer here. It's just, what's your favorite fast food? So I think from Mike, I'm getting, I guess, Five Guys. But he's not considering it fast food because he says you can't take it home. So and it's too expensive. I go, it is expensive, but the quality's good. I mean, I'm sorry, the quality is just better. Look, you ask me, listen, I'm a peasant. I give it to you straight. It's McDonald's. Period. Full stop. That's it. With Mike, it's a dissertation. 617-266-6868. By the way, getting inundated with text messages. Jeff, you're wrong. McDonald's. No, sorry. It's Wendy's. Others are saying it's Kentucky Fried Chicken, which I love. A lot of you are Chick-fil-A people. Jeff, you're wrong. It's Chick-fil-A. So this is my point, right? What is America giving the world? Fast food. Everywhere you go, there's a fast food joint on every corner, right? And 85% can't agree on what's our favorite fast food. Everybody's got an opinion. On the SAVE Act, 85% agree. We're not asking for much. Just pass the dang SAVE Act. That's all. We just want honest, clean elections. We're not asking for the moon. Gabriel in Natick. Thanks for holding, Gabriel, and welcome.
Yes, spirited and heartfelt greetings from the hinterlands of Natick. Brother Gabriel calling back. How are
Brother
you, Jeff?
Gabriel, nice to hear from you, my friend. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. I called 3 weeks ago, and I've been thinking about the SAVE Act, and I just want to briefly preface it by saying you are the greatest talk show host I've ever heard. I think you're even better than Rush, and none of the others hold a candle to you.
Wow,
and
that's...
I give you triple A plus. You asked for a rating. I can't think of a single issue that I have ever disagreed with you on. So you're perfect, the perfect talk show host in my eyes.
Wow, that's high praise. Gabriel, thank you. Are you with me on McDonald's as well, or...
Yeah, I'll tell you what I like now. Like you, I am a type 2 diabetic, and so I have to be very, very careful about what I eat. I do have visiting nurses come in twice a day to check me out because I almost passed away from the type 2 diabetes about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Well, I'm doing much better. So,
good.
I'm doing good, Jeff. And thanks to the Lord working through the great doctors and nurses at the Newton Wellesley Hospital, and I think they're a great hospital. I pulled through. If I had waited a few more hours or into the next day, I probably wouldn't be here now. But I'm doing fine, so no worries at all. My favorite food, fast food, if I had to choose one, I'm kind of old school, so I love the French fries with the ridges on them. And I have to be careful about how much ketchup I have on them, but I love that stuff. And from anywhere, whichever place.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Gabriel, my brother, what do you make of all this? Trump is desperately trying to get the SAVE Act through. He's meeting a mountain of opposition, ferocious opposition, even from his own party. Can he get it through? What does he need to do in your mind, my friend?
Yes. Well, we conservatives and patriots, it's time for us to arise. We have a heart that is overflowing with love for our republic. And what I would suggest, and this is heartfelt, but it is also meant humbly, it's your program, so I respect your judgments, but I would try and get in touch with Senator Mike Lee. I've heard him on other talk shows, none of which, of course, compare to yours, but I would try and contact the conservative senators, the Republicans that are on our side, because the rhinos will never budge. I think, with the possible exception of Susan Collins, who has that tough race up in Maine against Platt.
Well, Gabriel, look, Mike Lee has really been spearheading the Save America Act. To me, he's been a hero in all this. And I think it's a great suggestion. And maybe get him on and say, look, Senator, there's an army of Kuhner country out there. Big audience, vast audience. It's across the whole country, big streaming numbers. What can we do? I mean, it's, we're a potent army, a force that can be mobilized. And I'd love to hear what Mike Lee has to say, what the senator has to say. But I agree with you, Gabriel. This one we have to win. We can't afford to lose this one. Gabriel, take care of your health, and thank you for calling, my brother. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just super quick. We remember Linda. She called maybe 20, 25 minutes ago from South Carolina. And she says she's got to be careful when she's on the trails, when she's listening to me, and people can hear her on, on her phone. They tell her to, the liberals, the moonbats, I don't want to hear that. Turn it down. Well, my sister, my wonderful sister Jennifer out in Tucson, Arizona, texted me in response to Linda. And here's what she wrote me. Jeff, I walk every morning in the neighborhood with your show on. I only had one moron walk up to me and ask that I lower the volume. I said, quote, and if you know my sister, you know this is true. I said, quote, it's a free country. Mind your own effing business. And I put the volume on even louder. That's how you do it. By the way, Linda, if you're still listening, my sister Jennifer says she'd love to be your trail walking buddy. Craig in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Craig, and welcome.
And Jeff, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Craig.
I don't believe the Save America Act cannot pass the way it is written. And the reason for that is they've added too much to it. They need to keep it just on the voting and leave out the guys in the women's bathrooms, the guys in women's sports, and all the stuff they've added to it. If they had 10 separate bills, you have a chance of 7 or 8 passing instead of one big ugly bill that nobody's going to vote for, or not enough people would vote for.
Well, Craig, look, I'll be honest with you. I don't disagree with you in theory. To me, the most, I don't want men in women's bathrooms and in women's locker rooms and in women's showers. That goes without saying. But if that was what was generating all this opposition, I'd say, okay, strip it out. But my understanding, Craig, is no, the Democrats are going crazy over the election integrity provisions. They're upset at the showing proof of citizenship to register to vote, the voter ID provision. They're livid about that. Mail-in ballots, how they want to curb and limit mail-in ballots. So the voter rolls in particular, every state has to purge their voting rolls. They're not saying, it violates transgender rights or whatever. That's why we're not going to support this. They're being honest about it. They're saying we don't want this to pass because, as Chuck Schumer said, we're going to lose 25 million voters. I'm just curious. What say you, Craig?
With that, except for the other stuff like to be voted on the local level. I think that if it was just the voting, you might peel off enough Democrats to vote for it. That's my only point.
Interesting.
At this point, it's just,
well, and maybe for a Susan Collins, because she's more of a social liberal, you'd strip out some of those provisions and say just make it a straight election integrity bill. There's nothing else in it. And maybe up there in Maine, who knows? But Craig, look, I don't care what they have to do. I'm with you. If it means stripping it down and making it really just 3 or 4 points, 3 or 4 provisions, that's it. Nothing, nothing more, nothing less. If that's what it takes to pass it, do it. I'm with you. We just got to get it passed, because if we get proof of citizenship to register to vote, voter ID, and really start limiting the mail-in balloting, and we purge these voting rolls, the Democrats are cooked. Their goose is cooked, Craig, and they know it. Craig, thank you very much for that thoughtful call. Victor in Maryland. Thanks for holding, Victor. Victor, I haven't heard from you in a while. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I'm dealing with a medium.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry about that, Victor. Very sorry to hear that.
Now, good morning, America's talk show host.
I love it when you do that. I got to say, you do it with such gusto. Victor, you listen to a lot of talk radio. You follow news religiously. When you call, it's always a political lesson. So I got to ask you, as a very close observer of the political scene, can Trump get enough votes to get the Save America Act passed? And why do you think all these rhinos are so opposed and refuse to pass it? Why are they afraid of election integrity? What's your theory, Victor?
Well, the rhinos might as well be Democrats, as far as I am concerned. Now, what the president needs to do is to declare an insurrection and put these you-know-whats once and for all. There's going to be riots from the left. And if that happens, we got to really step down on them. Now, I remember during the Rodney King riots, there were riots in every city except Philadelphia. And you know why? Because the mayor said, you riot in Philadelphia, it's shoot to kill. This is war now, and we really have to go after these Democrats big time. And everybody call the White House comment line and leave your comments for the president. I've been doing it almost every day, and I've been saying, look, the president has to declare an insurrection. This is the only way we're going to get a handle on this. And as for this judge up in Massachusetts, she needs to be impeached, arrested, and thrown in jail for what she has done.
Well, you're right. She's aiding and abetting voter fraud. That's the only reason why she blocked Trump's executive order. It's obvious. She understands that. Look, the Dems all know this. They know they're cheating. And so what she's basically saying is, no, I'm going to block you and I'm going to prevent states from sharing their voting rolls so that they have to be purged. And you have to show proof of citizenship in order to register to vote, because she knows if those two things happen, it's over. The Democrats can't win in almost every state, maybe with an exception of a few. And so what she's doing is, and it's about the midterms. It's to try to protect the steal. Now, you see, they know, look, we saw what happened in California. That was just a taste of what they're going to do to us in the midterms. And that's why Trump he's yelling, he's screaming, he's shouting, he's arguing with these rhinos. I mean, reporters were saying you could hear it through the doors, how furious he was. He's like, you guys are lunatics, you're idiots. The party is going to get defeated, not because the voters don't want us. It's because the other side is going to nakedly cheat. And then when they nakedly cheat, you know what they're going to do? They're going to come back to power, and then they're going to blow the filibuster sky high. So Mike just told me, he's spending the 4th of July. You got to hear this. Okay, this is our 250th anniversary. I figured he's going to do something special. I mean, he said, what are you doing? I said, well, we're going to do what we always do, have a beautiful barbecue outside. And then we're going to go to the local town common. There's going to be there's going to be some singing, patriotic songs. So we're going to be singing patriotic songs. And then, of course, there's going to be a spectacular fireworks show. They say the biggest, the biggest, brightest fireworks show ever in the history of our town. So we're going to, show our pride and our patriotism. What do you think Mike is doing? Mike is going with a couple of his buddies to a lake nearby. What is it, in New Hampshire, Mike? All right, in New Hampshire. All right, 20 people, so there's a big party. And basically they're bringing a couple of kegs of beer. And they're going to have some hot dogs, kegs of beer, and basically a boat, and just lie in the water all day. I'm like, that's how you're celebrating the 4th of July? Our 250th birthday? Lying on a boat, having a keg, and a couple of hot dogs. Oh, Mike is saying, what's more American than that? Oh, jeez. Mike, hey, I don't want you to be overly patriotic there, Mike. I mean, jeez. All right, Rick in Rehoboth. Thanks for holding, Rick, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Rick. Can you hear me?
Okay. I got a little bit of good information here. I've always been good with strategy as a former United States Marine. So this is my strategy. The president addresses the nation and declares a national emergency with an executive order. Now, how does he do this? Under what authority? Well, illegals voting, which is basically foreign entities, they've subverted the will of the people. That's basically an attack on the United States. In essence, you have decapitated our political structure. So the strategy for that is this. They're not going to eliminate the voting system or fix the one that they got. You put that aside. Everybody goes to their town hall and they re-register. You prove who you are with your birth certificate, driver's license, whatever it is. So you've eliminated everybody that cannot prove that under a new system. One-day voting, paper ballots. You eliminate the machines. Basically, this is our club, and you ain't in it.
Well, look, Rick, I love it. I think the president needs to declare a national emergency because it is a national emergency. And I've always said this. Look, to me, I don't know if there's anything more important or more sacred in a constitutional republic than the vote and casting our ballot at the ballot box. And you know, Rick, what I don't understand is I can't wrap my mind around this. For most of our history, it was election day, not election month or 2 months or 3 months. It was one day. Everybody voted in person with a few exceptions. You mentioned you're a Marine, if you're stationed overseas, or, you know, you really are wheelchair bound, or you're sick. You really are sick, bedridden. You can't make it. You have some kind of a chronic illness. Okay. But that's the exception. You know, people voted in person, and it was one day, and it was paper ballots, and you had to register to vote. You had to show proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. And only Americans can vote in American elections. To me, I don't think there's anything more basic or fundamental than that. And the Democrats chipped away and chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And now I have to say, it's a well-oiled, almost perfect machine to steal elections. They count ballots after Election Day. They just keep counting. They give everybody a mail-in ballot. Whether you're a citizen, not a citizen, they don't care. They have ballot trafficking, ballot harvesting, things that are illegal in practically every other country in the world. No voter ID, which for me is insane. And now someone is an American citizen before they're registered to vote? By the way, every other country does it. Every other country does it. And we used to do it.